YouTube? It's your boy, the Passport Bro Wingman, coming at you again with another YouTube video. And the title of this video is called Dusty Passport Bros. You can't afford to travel. Stop using your rent money to travel, says Naysayer. And the way this video came about was I've been seeing lots and lots of videos addressing passport pookies and all this kind of stuff. And I was trying to look more into this and trying to see what the definition of a passport pookie would be. And I kind of had some disagreements about the whole concept. And I kind of wanted to talk about how it's kind of to the to the negative of like the whole passport bro movement. So starting off, one of the videos I watched, it pretty much was saying that if you are a passport bro that pretty much travels infrequently, then you may be like a passport bro. And then also said that yeah, if you travel just to go to clubs and that kind of stuff. And I kind of want to disagree with with these two talking points. And the sad thing about this was it was coming from men, and some of these men were men that traveled as well. And I kind of really disagree with this, and I kind of wanted to give my stance on this whole situation, because first off, a lot of guys in the passport bro movement, you got to consider that the fact that most Western countries, the average salary, as we've been saying before, is only about $40,000. Even in the UK, I had heard it's actually not even that amount. I think it's actually a little bit less. So keep in mind that a lot of times the men that are traveling, initially, they don't have that much money to be traveling frequently and also staying in the countries for that long. I also had started off like that originally, where I'll probably travel about almost like every other month, and I would probably stay for about anywhere from like 4 days to a week or so in different countries, like from the DR, Colombia, Brazil, that kind of thing. And then eventually in my career, as I started to make more money, then I was able to actually stay in the countries for like 3 weeks, sometimes like a month or so. So in that case, it would be, according to their definition, I would have went from like a pookie to I guess a regular passport bro. Now, here's why I disagree with this whole concept, and I actually don't even like using these terms for any passport bros. I don't care if it's a passport bro that can only travel once per year for like 1 week. I still would consider him a passport bro, and I'm gonna tell you why I wouldn't call these men pookies. For the first off, generally when people are talking about pookies and ray-rays, and I guess the non-black version of this would be like Billy Bob and that kind of thing. And even with Billy Bob, I don't necessarily, generally when people are talking about Pookie and Ray Ray, they're generally talking about a person that's somewhat degenerate, in many cases is involved in crime. Usually you would think about some type of you think about some of the gangster rappers and that kind of thing. They're very violent, no type of class, out causing lots of havoc, being disruptive at clubs, starting fights, that kind of thing. I want to say I have not had really any bad experiences with any of the passport bros. I don't care if that guy has only been traveling, like I said, once per year, once every other month, only on weekends, that kind of thing. I don't associate passport bros with being violent or disruptive. Majority of times when we go to clubs, whenever I meet other passport or travelers in general, usually very cool energy. We vibe well. Everyone says very polite, that kind of thing. They're usually not the ones calling disruption, So I think the reason this came about is because there's talk about the DR having too many travelers there, becoming Americanized and all this kind of stuff. So what a lot of people are thinking is that, okay, it's a lot of guys that don't have that much money from the U.S., they're getting their passport and they're traveling, and they're trying to call them pookies and that kind of thing. And I completely disagree. And here's the other reason why. For example, when you go to Brazil, usually when you hear about guys having success in Brazil, they're usually talking about Bahia, Brazil. They're not really so much focused on Rio, even though when I went to Rio. And the reason I brought it up is this. Because Rio is one of the most visited cities in Brazil, some people would look at it as being somewhat Americanized. But here's the thing. Even if you go there, the women there are still still more feminine than they are in the United States. Even in DR, where people talk about Sosua, because this is particularly the place where people are trying to say there's a lot of passport pookies and that kind of thing. Because it's so close to the United States, the trip is so cheap that a lot of people kind of go there versus going to Brazil, which is going to cost you about maybe around like $700, something like that. So instead, they rather go to DR, where you may only pay like, if you're coming from like up north in the United States or the West, you may pay like about $300. But if you're in, $300, $400. But if you're like in the South, since it's so close, you may only be paying about $200. You can find like a good flight for like $200 on Spirit or something like that. So what you have is a lot of men in the South getting their passports, taking $200, going down there for like the weekend, fly back, go to work. Maybe the next month they go again. So a lot of men have kind of caught on in this. But the thing is, the reason it's been kind of really exploding is because most men are waking up and they're really seeing how the culture is in the United States, and they're tired of dealing with that. And so they've heard so many good stories about going overseas, going to the DR, going to Brazil. So a lot of men have just, taking that first step and said, I'm not going to deal with this culture anymore in America. It's very toxic. Let me go find, a girl in the DR. So, of course, you're going to have more men coming to the DR, Sosua, Rio, that kind of thing. But the thing is this, you have a lot of, and this is exactly why I made that video saying, I have a video that says, oh no, passport bros, Pookie and Ray Ray and Tyrone and Chad have found out about foreign women already ruined. And I also have a video addressing the passport bros saying, what will passport bros do when South America becomes oversaturated, with Americans? And the reason I brought it up is because this exact reason. What's happening is you have a lot of travelers, especially passport bros, that are like, when they come to these cities and they see how wonderful it is, it's very natural for you to want to hold on to that and kind of hide the details and not want to really share it. So the thing is, although we shared a lot online, there's a fear that maybe all American men suddenly are going to want to rush down to these countries. It's going to be so oversaturated, and it's going to become almost just like America, and it's going to be really, really bad, and all that kind of stuff. And they're worried about supply and demand. There's not going to be that many women to go around. It's going to get really bad. The women are going to get very, what's the word? They're going to be asking for more money, in regards to the pay for play situation. But, and even for the guys that don't do pay for play, some of those guys are like, well, now the women have so much choice that even though I do cold approach, it's not going to be that effective because they have so many options. So you got a lot of that going. It's a lot of fear mongering. But as I addressed in my previous videos, keep in mind that there's not that many people in general that have passports. I was going to say in general, as far as passports, is less than, I think it's less than like 30% of the U.S. population. And majority of those are non-black to begin with. I think it's only like 3% were like black or something like that. And either way, keep in mind that even of that 30%, a lot of those are women, and a lot of those don't even go to South America. They go to like Southeast Asia, and they go to like some of the other little countries as well. So at least half of those don't even go to South America. You have a lot of passport bros and travelers in general, including like non-black ones that just they kind of stay away from South America because they think it's very dangerous. So they tend to go to like Eastern Europe, parts of Europe. Like Asia, that kind of thing. You even have some that are going into like Africa as well. So you got to keep that in mind. Also, as I said before, you also got to consider the fact, just as the whole title suggests, if a lot of guys are generally these guys that don't have that much money to travel, it's not like every guy in America is flying there repeatedly every week, every month. They might only go like maybe like once per month, once every other month. So the frequency is not going to be that high to begin with. So you have that note. Also keep in mind, as I said before, a lot of the guys, when they're going overseas, they're going to specific countries. Like, for example, in the DR, a lot of men are going to Sosua. In Brazil, a lot of men are going to Rio. In Colombia, a lot of men are going to Medellin. That's primarily where a lot of guys are going. They're not going to the surrounding cities. They're not going, for example, in Colombia, they're not going to Cali, they're not going to Bogota, they're not going to Barranquilla, and in Brazil, although they should go to Bahia, a lot of them not going there. They tend to go to Rio, Sao Paulo, that kind of thing. So there's a a big segment of each of these countries that men are not tapping into. So so the solution, it will be easy. One of the things you would just do is just go to another city that's less traveled. You got to ask yourself, why are people going to these specific cities where like there are so many tourists going there? It's because that city is tourist friendly. Lots of people that speak English there. Lots of hotels that speak English that cater to tourists. Prices are very good. Transportation is very good. Wi-Fi is very good. So that's why a lot of guys are going there. All you would really have to do to get around a lot of this is one, pick another city that's maybe it's a little less tourist friendly, but they do have it is set up. The infrastructure is set up for tourists there. Go there. You'll still have good Wi-Fi. You can check reviews online. And then it will be less travelers there, and there's still a lot of outside cities outside of these main cities where you can still find lots of good women to meet, party with, that kind of thing. Because for example, consider this: when people go into Sasua, and they're saying, "Oh, it seems like all the women there, they just they become Americanized, they're getting real picky, they want money." No, what you got to consider is this. They're going where the money is. A lot of the girls, for example, the pay for play girls, and even the women that are not pay for play, they're like gold diggers and stuff like that. They're throughout the whole country. But what's happening is they're hearing about all the Americans going specifically to Sasua. So if you were a pay for play girl, or let's say you're not a pay for play girl, you're just a regular girl, but you want a guy that has money, has a means, and that kind of thing. Let's say you live in I'm trying to remember Santo Domingo. You live in a city like that, or if you're in Colombia, maybe you don't live in Medellin. You live in Santa Marta or something like that, or in Brazil, you live in El Salvador, like one of these other cities. Let's say you're there. It's not that many tourists that come there. Maybe here and there you meet one, but there's a lot of competition. So what you start hearing through the grapevine is that, hey, there's a lot of American guys, they go to Rio or they go to Sasua. If you're a woman in one of these outside cities, what are you going to do? You're going to go to that city specifically because there's going to be a larger pool of American men there, men with money there. So that's what's happening. A lot of these women who are of this mindset are traveling from different parts of the country, and they're migrating there. Not just for that, but keep in mind that as American dollars pour in, what does that do? That builds up infrastructure there. That means more jobs. As I told you before, a lot of these countries, unemployment is high. So what tends to happen is a lot of people in these countries, they migrate from city to city looking for work. So of course, they're going to migrate towards the most American, the quote unquote most Americanized cities within that country, because there's going to be more jobs there because the more Americans are coming in looking for hotels. That builds more jobs. So as a result, the women who are about just money or just about trying to get over a man, of course they're going to come there. So as a result, you're going to more frequently run into women who are just pay for play, or women who have a lot of drama, or women who are trying to get over you, versus if you were to go to that same country and you went to another country that's less tourist like, for example, Santo Domingo. Instead of going to Sasua, go to Santo Domingo. You will find out the women there are more like the type of woman that you're looking for. They're going to be more looking more for, like, put it this way, they're going to be quote unquote less Americanized. Their standards are not going to be as ridiculous. They're not going to work. If you do pay for play, obviously not looking for as much, funding from you as the women in Sasua for that reason. As in my opinion, has nothing to do with passport pookies or guys, all the flood of American guys coming there. It has more to do with Americans in general traveling to these countries because they support more tourists and provide, and more jobs as a result are becoming available there. So more people throughout the country are flocking there, and particularly girls that are looking for pay for play, or guys that are willing to take care of them. They're gonna go there for that reason, because there's going to be more Americans there. So that's the reason for that. It has nothing to do with us coming in there and ruining the country. And I mean, that's really the whole purpose of this passport pookie thing, is more, and I really hate to say it, it's more to shame men in general. It's just another shaming thing. And I really hate that men, especially some passport bros, are taking part in this. Now, I'm not saying that there are not guys that come there and make a fool of themselves, get drunk, do a bunch of stupid stuff. There was a guy in Cartagena, a tourist guy. He got up on a balcony. I think he tried to jump down or something like that. And as a result, the police came and they were just saying like, oh, if y'all keep doing this, it's going to get bad. But keep in mind that when we had the World Cup in Brazil, you had American people coming into Brazil acting all entitled, tearing stuff up, giving the customer service reps hard times in these restaurants. So and these are people that are not necessarily passport bros. They're just going down there for the soccer game. So what I'm saying is you have this all across the board. It's not just particularly passport bros. So I guess you can, if you wanted to consider, so put it this way, if there was a pookie, I wouldn't say it should be designated to men who don't travel frequently, because you're just trying to say that, you know, pookie is associated with somebody who doesn't have that much money. And keep in mind, as I said before, most of us men, as we get older, we're going to make more money. So we will be able to travel more frequently. But I don't think for a passport bro that's starting off that he should be labeled as a pookie. That doesn't make any sense. Pookie is usually associated with a guy who's making a bunch of single mothers. He's violent, that kind of thing. None of the passport bros I've met, the ones that travel infrequently, nor the ones that travel frequently, have been violent and causing a bunch of single mothers. Keep in mind that the single mother rate is high in these countries outside of the U.S., so it's not us causing this issue. So I wouldn't even say that, you know. So I just say that to say that I don't think that men of I guess quote unquote of lower class coming to these countries is ruining the culture. Nothing completely doing that. This is more about economics. This is more about job creation. This is more about the girls they're seeing where the money is. Because keep in mind that a lot of these girls would have been in other cities, you know, working for like less income, requiring less from guys in general, not being as, I guess, entitled. It's just a matter of now, because those cities are being built up, you're starting to run more frequently into these women. But I assure you, even in Sosua, even in Rio, even in Medellin, you still will find some feminine women there, and even the ones that you say are not as feminine or that are becoming Americanized. If you will be honest, those women still are not to the extreme as it is in the United States. They'll still get down with you. Now they might require a little bit more now because again they're seeing more tourists there. But again, the solution to this is not to shame other brothers or tell other brothers to stop traveling, or to tell people who are making videos such as myself, don't stop, stop spreading, all this, good news about going to other countries, because, you might be fearful that it's going to ruin it there. As I said before, it's not that many people traveling in general, and that's not really the source of the issue. I encourage you to travel around in the country, and you really see that it has nothing to do with the type of men that are coming there. Now, are there men there that are making a fool of themselves and making it hard for us Americans or men from Canada or the men from the UK to travel and making us look bad? Of course. There was one of my cousins that was in the army, and he was in Germany. He said there used to be a sign that would say "No Americans in this club" in certain parts, because he was saying that so many American soldiers came there, were getting drunk, making a fool of themselves, so they just pretty much put it up where they couldn't travel there. So I'm not saying that cannot happen. Of course, if people start doing stupid stuff like the guy did in Cartagena, of course there's going to be restrictions, or it's going to make us look bad, which is why when I had that video about do the foreign men dislike us being there, one of the things I had mentioned was whenever I go to another country, I keep myself like I'm a guest in that country. It's not my country. So I need to carry myself accordingly. I need to be polite. If anything else, I need to carry myself better than I do in the United States, because I'm on their turf. I'm under their rules. So I can't cry foul and then say in America is this way. Why you treat me like this? I need to understand that I'm not in my homeland. I need to carry myself politely and as a gentleman. And I encourage other brothers of all races to do the same. That you're in their territory, you're a guest in their home. You want to make it so that we're welcome back. There's not any issues. And so on that note, that's my whole take on this whole passport pookie thing. Tell me what you think in the comments. Please thumbs up. I really, really appreciate it. Hit the notification bell. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed to my channel before. I'm going to have lots of new content. And until next time, this is your boy, the Passport Bro Wingman, signing off.